The legend of the ghost dogs of Central America is not one that we hear too often here in the West. So let's get to it. These mythical beasts, known as El Cadejo, are said to prowl the countryside looking for their next meal, only they aren't loyal pets. Instead, these terrifying canines will attack humans, bite people to death, and even lead unsuspecting victims into dangerous situations just for fun. In today's video, I'll be telling the tale of El Cadejo, the terrifying ghost dog of Central America. Let's begin. Let's start by talking about what an El Cadejo actually is. The name translates to the little dog, but the creatures themselves are anything but little. In fact, they're most commonly described as being the size of a Volkswagen Beetle or a large bear. They have matted fur, long nails and glowing red eyes, but probably the worst part of their appearance is that they're rotting. Most sightings of El Cadejo describe the creature's flesh as hanging off its bones, and if that doesn't sound gross enough, sometimes they leave a slime trail wherever they go. Oh, and did I mention they're also radioactive? El Cadejos have been sighted all throughout Central America, including Nicaragua, Honduras, Guatemala, and Mexico. They're seen as omens of death and misfortune, and some say that hearing a pack of them howling in the night means your family member is going to die within the next few hours. Even more chilling is that they seem to target specific victims. For example, people who make jokes about others, drunkards, and those who have recently buried a loved one. That last one makes sense, because according to legend, El Cadejos don't only feed on meat while they're alive, but also in the afterlife. It's believed that these creatures seek out newly buried corpses and drink their blood, and I guess if you recently lost someone and were taking care of their burial site, that would be the perfect time to approach you. One of the worst things about El Cadejo is that they're extremely aggressive. Unlike other animals that might attack you if you feel like a threat, these ghostly hounds will seek out humans specifically to torment them. Some people say they can tell when an El Cadejo is near by the way the hair on their arms stands on end and their skin crawls. Others say they can hear the dogs before they see them, with their howls sounding similar to coyotes or wolves. Those who have witnessed these creatures claim there's no outrunning them. If you try to run away, then they'll only chase after you. If you fight back, they'll keep coming at you until you've either used up all your strength or succumbed to your injuries. And even if you somehow manage to kill one, whether with a gun, a knife, or even a machete, the creature simply evaporates. It disappears into thin air, with not so much as a trace left behind. If you think you can hide from this beast, then think again. There's no hiding from an El Cadejo. If you try to take shelter in a home, they'll simply wait until you come out. Then if you try to drive away, they'll cause car accidents. One moment everything is fine, and the next you're crashing through a wall or over an embankment. If you try to take a different route, they'll stop traffic. As if that isn't bad enough, an El Cadejo will always appear in your peripheral vision. No matter how fast you're going or where you're going, they'll find a way to get to you. I should mention that El Cadejo aren't always violent though. Sometimes they're friendly. Well, as friendly as a radioactive rotting dog could be, I suppose. But these nicer ones don't mean you any good. If an El Cadejo approaches you and begins licking your hand or nuzzling your leg, it means you're going to lose something very important to you. Maybe it'll be a family heirloom, a precious piece of jewelry, or even your life savings. Whatever it is, you won't have it for long. All the El Cadejo wants is for you to let your guard down so it can strike. As I mentioned earlier, people say the best way to defend yourself against an El Cadejo is to kill it. However, this isn't easy. For one thing, the creatures are completely immune to bullets. And yes, even silver bullets. Not sure why anyone thought that would work since, they're ghosts. Another thing to keep in mind is that these dogs aren't living creatures. This means normal weapons aren't effective. You can't stab an El Cadejo with a wooden stake like you would a vampire or burn it with holy water. In fact, fire seems to be one of the only things that repels these creatures. According to legend, when a person is fighting off an El Cadejo, they should build a small fire and walk through it backwards. The dog will be unable to follow due to the flames, and once you've reached the other side, it'll disappear. Unfortunately, most people don't carry around matches when they're being stalked by radioactive ghost dogs. And there are other methods of dealing with an El Cadejo, none of which are particularly pleasant. For example, you can tie up your legs and pretend to be asleep, or you can throw soil from a graveyard on top of yourself and stay perfectly still. If you do this right, the El Cadejo will think you're already dead and move on to an easier target. Another way to deal with an El Cadejo is to bargain with it. These creatures apparently love shiny objects, and one story I read about a woman who was being stalked by one of these dogs. She managed to distract it by throwing her wedding ring into the forest. Unfortunately, she never saw her husband again, leading many to believe that El Cadejo not only took her ring, but also her husband. Perhaps the most horrifying aspect of this whole legend is that the El Cadejo aren't just ghosts that we see every now and then. Some people say they're everywhere all the time, but we just can't see them. I mean, think about all those stories of people walking through cemeteries and having their souls stolen. Well, maybe that wasn't the work of malevolent spirits, but rather an El Cadejo trying to find a new plaything. All of this brings me to my final point. If you ever travel to Central America, be careful. Some people claim that El Cadejo are nothing more than a myth, but those who have lived in Central America their whole lives know better. They say the ghost dogs are real, and that they're just waiting for the chance to snatch another soul. So what should you do if you encounter one of these vicious creatures? Let me know in the comments below. Also, please make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Doing so will ensure that you never miss one of my videos. Until next time, remember, ignorance is bliss, knowledge is power. Stay informed, stay safe,